So yeah, you're at work
Yes, I am.
at the college, right?
But well, actually, I changed location. I actually work with a close friend of mine, and she said because I work with numbers, so I actually do the accounting stuff.
Oh, you do.
But
You're an accountant.
yeah,
I didn't know that. I
yeah,
thought you were a
it,
counselor. Why did I think you were a counselor?
that's just in my probably in my spiritual life. But I'm in my natural that kind of nerd when I like numbers and stuff like that.
Really?
So so I'm just kind of multifaceted. I'm able to just to kind of bring I think maybe everything into my personal my spirituality and the things I enjoy doing, in that natural scope. So,
I
but
don't.
presence here and needed it here, so I couldn't resist it. I said, well, I'll do it.
Right on. Very cool. See, we got 14 people in the house. We're about ready to get started. Alice in New York's here. Hey, Heather
Yeah.
Nielsen. Let people get in. We still got 14. Yeah, it looks like we're still getting suppressed a little bit. So a lot of people don't start joining for it takes about 5 or 10 minutes because the notifications for some reason aren't going out. But anyway, this is a really special day. I think the way that Morgan does a schedule, she sends out a lot of dates, and then people pick the dates, and it's funny how the energy speaks from the energy that ends up picking the dates and how everything just falls into place. So we have 4 shows today. This is our last Franco Friday. As we know, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Uh, there's unlimited possibilities as to what could occur. I'm anxious to talk to you about what do you think's going on and what's happening. There's been so much go on since let me take that off. The 22nd of February was like a culmination of, for it seems like 4 or 5 months of just like intense waves every month, and then something's really lifted since the 22nd, regardless of what's going on in the world stage and all that other stuff. But anyway, we got Jamie Williams back, beautiful, beloved sister from Hot Springs, Arkansas, right down the road, about 2 hours. It's 2 hours, I think. We're about 2 hours from each other. So it's good to have you. Good to see you again. And I'm glad you could come in and talk to us. How you been?
I've been wonderful, and thank you for having me. It's wonderful here, and I've I've missed your presence. We haven't got a chance to talk in a while either, so I'm really happy to see you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So I know everything's been a real smooth ride for you over the last few months, I would imagine.
Whew. Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't talked to anybody that hasn't felt the energy, you know, intensely at times. Really, I mean, it just keeps going. Ever since this thing started, I guess on or about 2012. But really, there seems to be a cyclical nature to the energy. With the equinoxes and the solstices and full moons and eclipses and dates that carry ones and twos, which I think was a real marker, even though I'm not an expert in all that stuff. But, with the months ending, or the months having just ones and twos, like October, November, December, January, February. So the 10th, 11th, and 12th seem to be kind of every month seem to be important dates, kind of the beginning of a gateway or whatever you want to call it. And then it would end after the 20th, 21, 22 period. And then, of course, it really kind of was like the ending of a cycle of cycles, I guess, on the 22nd of February. Have you noticed anything different in your mind or in your field from the 22nd of February?
Um, the difference is, I think is allows us to go deeper within.
Mm.
So what I'm seeing is, we're watching things on the outside, but I think we have these portals and the gateways and these different things that are happening. It allows us just to go deeper within ourselves, and that's what I'm noticing. And it's like a we're going into like our more of our subconscious.
Yeah.
Um, it's allowing us to dive deeper within ourselves and to confront those places that are still within us that needs to heal. And that's what I'm noticing is those that's the biggest opportunity that I can see with these particular gateways and portals. That's the change I'm seeing, is that we're allowed to become more of who we are, rise more of who we are into our Christ, giving birth to that golden child.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally. And you mentioned the subconscious, which is kind of intriguing to me because I've been thinking about it a lot. And some of the I guess reading online, I've been doing a research. You know, Carl Jung, obviously talks a lot about the subconscious, the shadow. And I think to myself, this is the age of the Trinity, and you've got what you might call the soul or the higher self, which obviously we're all, have been listening to, all the crazy people that kind of got us to this point, doing crazy things. And then you have the subconscious. And I think to myself, I wonder, there's another triad there. You've got the unknown, or the relatively unknown, of the subconscious that we work with in our shadows and our zero pointing. Then you've got the conscious, and then you have that higher self. But yeah, I agree with you. And it seems like that another thing that's happening, because we spent so much time focusing on, bringing equilibrium or higher alignment to ourselves, and therefore our experience and our relationships, etc. But one of the other things that I'm seeing that's happening, I've been saying this for the last few days, and it's just my observation, which is the magic is taking on a physicality, and I see it a couple of ways. One, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is as time has gone on, especially here after 2 years of this COVID thing and the gifts that it's kind of brought, isolation, self-introspection, and so on, is that an expansion of our telepathy, our intuition, our higher sensitivities, skills, and abilities. And then also these stories about people that are having these incredible experiences that on an individual level, where basically, I guess you could say, like, they're aligning with the flow. They're having like little mini miracles, things happening, being given to them or presented to them, or that they're experiencing just really good rhythms in life, regardless of what's happening in the collective. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that it goes back to saying that becoming more in tune with your real self and who you really are at that source. And it's really not any miracle, so to speak. These things are really who we are.
Right.
This thing, so it's like we're just able to tap into that because we've been able to heal, and we're coming more in alignment with who we are as our real self.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, that's what it really boils down to, and that's what it really is.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's our natural nature. And
It is.
I've said for years, from my perspective, that maybe the biggest challenge we're going to have, and be careful what you ask for, be careful what you say, right? But the biggest challenge we have is actually getting used to our natural nature, or maybe accepting our power would be another way to put it. If I remember correctly, are you a single mother? You have
I am. Yeah.
you have children. If I remember correctly, you have 3 or 4 children, don't you? Was
Yes,
this
I have 3 children.
3 children?
Um, yes, I have 2 at home still with me, and I
Okay.
have an.
Right. We've had some interesting conversations either with parents or actually with some young people over the last, I'd say year and a half. And it's interesting what they're bringing to the table. Are you seeing the influence of what we all gather for in these communities, the awakening, the things that are happening? And I know with children or young people, you don't always get this type of conversation, but they do seem to be carrying, one way or the other, exhibiting evidence of the universal energy that's expanding on the earth. Are you seeing that with your children or young people in general?
Yes, I am. With my children, it's like they're all at different stages of evolution, which we all are. So it's beautiful to observe each of their lives and understanding what's happening, what's going on. So I have one of them that's highly in tune with the whole awakening cycle.
Really?
She asks a lot of questions, and actually imparts a lot of wisdom into me as well. Um, as far as things that she's able to tap into the higher scope, into the higher nature of things. Um, Even she says that she feels like her generation. She said she know that her generation, these younger people, they came in to change things. They came in to they. She understands that they came in to break down the norm as far as their particular generations as light workers. So she's very in tune to. I have one that is actually. I can see him kind of going into more of the natures of this world, and that's okay too, because he's just going through, that's his path of evolution. So I'm watching them at each stage of it, but I do have one that's very, very highly in tune to this awakening cycle, and we share a lot. And it's just a beautiful to watch that as well.
Yeah, that's wild to have those types of conversations. It's interesting. I've got 6 kids, and you know, at this stage, I don't, and which is kind of cool. We even with friends, even like with you, it's like, hey, I just saw you yesterday, but we don't talk like every day or every week or even really every month. I mean, sometimes I'll go 3, 4 months without talking to some of my kids, but I have gotten some phone calls from them. 4 of them, 4 of the 6, I would say each one of them at least one time has reached out to me in the past 3 or 4 months and said, "Hey, and Dad, what's going on?" Like,
Mhm.
what's happening with this whole thing? What's your take on it? So they're asking the questions, which tells me they're seeing that they're questioning what reality they're being offered by by the matrix or whatever you want to call it. So it's interesting to see that. And then I'm starting to see in the Soulogy demographics on the different platforms that have the metrics that the 18 to 25 is just, it had, when you would look at the demographics, it would say zero point 0.0, that are in a group or on a page. But now you're starting to see a little bit of activity with it. And what's interesting is it's the only category where the male representation, even though it's a very small percentage of the whole, is actually a little bit higher than the female, which is
Mm-mm.
interesting because all
It
the other
is.
categories, it's very much, the vast majority is the feminine. And speaking of that, what are your thoughts? Because I know you're very connected, and I know you're very serious and devoted about what you do, and we can talk about that a little bit. But in terms of just in general, what's happening, a lot of people would describe it as the mother goddess energy is anchoring and expanding and affecting all of us on the earth. And therefore, you can kind of see those rhythms if you're plugged in. What are your thoughts on the dance or the balance or imbalance or the evolution of the relationship of the masculine and the feminine energy on the earth?
Well, I see the feminine energy is beginning to definitely anchor in, and that's what that we know that's what this age of Aquarius is all about, is bringing in that divine mother energy,
Hmm.
and that has to in each of us, so that dance has to balance. We do the work, and it balances inside of us first, of course, and then we also can see it playing out on the stage as well, as that patriarchy system is starting to fall away. um it's shaking things up, because that mother, that nurturing energy, she's coming in, and she's came in with the bang. And it's shaking things up a bit on the world stage, and it's also, it's shaking things up on the inside of us as well. But that's where we have to do that balance. We have to balance that energy within us, and that's what I believe is going on with that.
Yeah. And I know you're an energy practitioner. You work with people, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you do sessions with people. Are you seeing over these past few months, as we get in, say that to the last quarter, say COVID's been approximately about 2 years, and
Years.
then of course all the energetic underlying things that's brought to the table when we look through it and we look beyond mandates, look beyond quarantines and such. Um, are you seeing any, like say in the last quarter of that, the last 6 months or so, are you seeing anything in terms of the clients that are coming to see you? Are you seeing more men? Are the clients in general displaying any type of uniformity to it in terms of what they're coming to you for or what they're experiencing? Anything new on that front?
I've only experienced two males. here within right about the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically female
Right.
women that I've but there has been it's been two males, and one of the men, he has always felt like he's been tapped into his divine feminine essence, but he's now more comfortable and then allowing that to come to the forefront, because before, people saw that as being feminine and things like that. So he's actually excited that this energy has come in to the point that it has, because he's able to truly on the outside, be who he is. And not saying he's not, no, he's married, he's not,
Mm-hmm.
homosexual thing like that, but he's just truly um in tune with who he is as a divine masculine and a divine feminine. And so that's what I saw with him, that he's excited that's he's able to be who he is, and anchor those energies in and show who he is.
Mm. And as far as the women go, I know that back in around 2015, 2016, there seemed to be a real resurgence. You heard a lot of and saw a lot of posts, and it would talk in like in regard to the feminine energy has landed, and there was a lot
Mhm.
of expressions from the feminine, and rightfully so. Hey, we're not taking this anymore, and you just kind of saw it kind of go and expand and evolve. Are you seeing any greater expressions, openness of the sovereignty and power or re-empowerment of the feminine through your clients?
Absolutely, and that is what I'm seeing. I'm
Mm,
seeing that when I'm in all the women that I've worked with, they have tapped into that feminine power, and it's a beautiful strength, a beautiful power, not domineering or not prideful or anything like that. It's truly that divine feminine power, and it is so beautiful to witness and to watch that, being anchored into these ladies.
yeah. Another thing that you hear a lot about, and I guess probably when you get right down to it, that you know there's something innate in us in terms of finding oneness. I guess would be one way to put it, in a relationship. Everybody kind of has a fairy tale, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Truly a loving relationship. People talk about the reality of finding that balance of feminine and masculine within yourself, and then as a result, there seems to be kind of an uptick of, I would say, more divine, authentic unions, even though some may not last too long, but people are kind of like moving towards that as a result of the work they're doing. Are you seeing that with your clientele or in general? Are they telling any stories about meeting people, or any good things happening to them in general as they're evolving?
Well, as far as with that, with the union aspect of it, and as you were saying, it comes with doing the inner work, and
Mm-hmm.
where you are on your path, and the amount of work you're doing. Those are the typically the people that we pull into our experience. Um, and so I have noticed that, a couple, um, they have actually felt as though they've met a divine partner. And one particular, she's met about um, two people, but they've all been perfect as far as what she's been knitting on her path of growth.
Right.
So I mean, I think it's just happening naturally with this ascension process. Those of us that are truly on this path, these are just natural aspects of things that are carrying, as we do that work within, that shows up on the outside of us, where whatever we're needing to mirror back to us. That's basically, what I see is happening and coming to each of our experiences.
Right on. And you always seem so calm, cool, collected, happy, positive. And I may have asked you this before, because when I see people like this, I always ask them, do you get triggered often, or little, or at all? And if you do, how do you come out of it?
Well, there is an inner joy, because my joy and my that inner joy and my happiness doesn't come from anything outside of this world, or because of anyone else. So it is just that natural joy and that happiness is always there. But absolutely triggered. And I've had, I mean, just honestly, when I'm triggered, sometimes my reaction can be a little over the top, and then I have to recenter. I mean, that's just in all honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're putting people are around us or coming to our experience. They are going to know the exact button to push to just to see how we, that's just, I mean, thinking that's us showing ourselves where we are, how much work do we still have left to do. So I've had situations that, somebody can trigger me in a certain way and I push a button and I just might flip a little bit. And so I have to bring myself back to that center. And that just takes a long time. Just going back within to that heart space.
Yeah.
And that's how that recalibration, and it has to happen all the time. And it has to happen pretty instantaneous, because like I'm in a situation to where I had to take my son to court because I said he's still acting out his nature into the hologram. And I was triggered in that courtroom, and I didn't flip out, but I was so upset. I was visibly shaking, upset, and I had to ask me, "Are you okay?" The person I was kind of upset with, he was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I had to, in that moment, I had to just put it together. Um, in that moment, I couldn't go to myself and go along, and then I had to just, it's a recalibration. So yeah, I'm definitely, I go through being triggered as well, but I always find that place of peace, and there's a joy everlasting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's something to be said for the stepping stones of the soul highway are triggers themselves, like, or at least uncomfortable scenarios, things that you're confronted with, and that creates let's just say, the chaos before the expansion, right? Wow. So how do you? I'm just curious because I know you're very devoted. I can tell. I've always been able to tell that about you. You're very serious and dedicated. Do you have a routine that you follow? I mean, I'm just curious. Do you get up in the morning and do affirmations, or or do you just kind of like me, for the most part, just get up and go, and just take it as it comes?
Um,
I mean,
I am,
do you have like go tos? I guess is what I'm saying.
yes, I do. What so in the past, I was a little more rigid in the way I did things more in the beginning, but as time, has progressed, and now when you're walking and truly just living or walking that talk and truly living that lifestyle, um, there's ways that I will incorporate it throughout the day and not so much on a particular schedule. But so each morning I get up, I'm gratitude, I'm grateful. That's just, just a grateful heart. Before I began to really do any work, I will do some decrees or affirmations,
Mm-hmm.
uh, as a, stepping stone. But then other than that, and then at nighttime before I go to bed or retire, the same thing. It's the going back within the heart space, and I'll think about the day. What happened throughout that day. What do I have to do? What's coming up? And then I also do some more decree worker mantras and things like that before I retire. So that's
Yeah.
basically.
How do you balance being a numbers person at work in what you might could say is more of a 3D environment, uh, and and this part of your life? Because I know as an energy practitioner, you're very active. Do you find any type of a challenge with that, or is it kind of all beating at the same vibration?
Well, because at this stage I know it's where I'm supposed to be. So
Mm.
it really works. It works because it's a part of my path, and it's where I know that it's a divinely supposed to be at this moment. But all flows and it works out. I know that things will change, but at this moment it flows, it works out, and I enjoy, and I don't do anything that I don't enjoy doing, or I'm not in an environment or a situation that I don't truly enjoy. And I have is and I have a beautiful amount of freedom
Mm-hmm.
still. So I'm able to, just like right now, I'm able to take the time and
Oh
to
wow.
enjoy and being with you all right now, and still I'll be able to get everything done. And so it all works beautifully.
Yeah, and I know from talking to you before the job that you had before, which I think was at a college, you enjoyed it, and it sounds like that what I was referring to earlier, which is the natural nature, that something appeared that was, I mean, what you had was good, and something appeared in terms of a new job that was better, which is where you're sitting now, which is pretty cool. And you're in Hot Springs, and I've been in Arkansas a year and a half, and of course I was brought here like a lot of the things that occurred to many of us, would seem by coincidence or by chance, and I haven't, I'm kicking myself because I'm thinking, now the sun's coming out and the temperatures are starting to go up. I'm going to get out and about and start seeing some of the magic of the land out here, because it is quite amazing. And of course, the crystals are a big part of that. Do you know much about the crystals and some of the offerings that are in Arkansas, whether they be around Hot Springs or not? Anything you've experienced or anything you can share with us?
Were you saying what the locations of,
Well, just like
or
the crystals, like have you gone mining for crystals? I think, didn't you tell me that you kind of worked or kind of assisted somewhere, like I think like part time or something with the crystal mining, or I think at a shop or something.
yes, there is a crystal mine it's called JC. It's on the outskirt of Hot Springs. It's
Mm-hmm.
called JCville. And I part-time work there. I still do every once in a while, but at one time I did it consistently. That was my part-time job, so to speak, that I worked at that crystal mine. And so I still go there. I go into the shops. I just love the atmosphere. So I was just there at this equinox. I was there Sunday at this spring equinox, just in that balancing aspect, to be around that particular frequency.
Right.
So I just went there. Didn't do any digging, but I'll still go and dig crystals and things like that. It's
Really.
just a life. I love it.
I'd like to try that. I'm gonna have to try that at some point. And I know it's all over the state. I knew somebody, I think, around Mina, south of here, that had about 17 acres, and you could just pull a truck up and and get a shovel and just start loading them up, which is just fascinating. I understand that it runs, I think, diagonally all the way across some kind of a, what do they call it, like a vein, runs, pretty much all the way through the state. Wow. And do you work with crystals, or do you have certain tools that you work with beyond like the mantras, affirmations, and other things that you do within yourself?
Well, yeah, I keep them. I mean, they're all around me right now. They're everywhere.
Oh yeah.
But it's just the vibration. I mean, each crystal carries their specific vibration, and of course, you can program them and things like that. So I enjoy the energy of them, because we really have everything that we need within ourselves. But one thing I realized about the crystals, that they coincide a lot with our chakra systems.
Hmm.
I think from what I'm knowing is that they really assist us until we can get there ourselves, until we're able to use the full capacity of what we have within ourselves.
Right.
So
And,
and so
and what's that?
I said, so I do appreciate what they bring to us until we can get there ourselves.
Right on. Amazing. And given everything that's happening in the movie out there, and then everything that you're tapped into, and we're all tapped into with this innate knowing and so on of what's really occurring, or at least occurring simultaneously. Do these things affect you? The things such as COVID, and even like recently the Ukraine, and some of the other inequities, and different things that we all come across, whether we tap into mainstream media or we don't. I mean, there's just certain things out there that you really can't, you really can't not help but see. Do these things affect you? And if so, how do you deal with them? Or what role do they play in your life? What influence or lack thereof do they have in your life?
Um, it's not a lot of personal influence that they have on me personally. And that's the beauty about us being able to create our own realities. Our experiences are what, come from within ourselves. And that's the beauty um, in this ascension work and being on that particular path, is that we're able to bypass the things that are really happening in the world. We're able to observe it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with us having, most of us have that bodhisattva kind of heart, and to where we want to help and we want other people to, help them on the path. And we also extend our light, our frequency and things into atmosphere. So I am very involved as far as my observing and wanting to extend help, but it doesn't affect me personally a whole lot, even with, and because I feel like most of us we're abundant, and we have everything that we need when we need it. And so even with the gas prices is outrageous, but I think again, when abundance comes from the inside, we still have everything that we need whenever we need it. So on a personal level, it doesn't really affect me, but it does. My heart goes out to those that it does affect. And so we, pray for them, or, whatever I'm called to do, I work to assist others, to get through.
Yeah, and I've caught, obviously, caught some of your posts, and seen you, observed you, and your energy, which again is very deep, it's very devoted, very embedded. I can tell. What is, from your perspective? I mean, from your understanding, what is what are your purposes in your mind? What are your lines of communication? Because I know you speak of some divine essences, and I can't recall specifically, but you seem to have a very intimate connection with the divine, or faces of the divine. Yeah, what do you feel like your purposes are, and where are they at? Where are they going?
Um, my purpose, but the number one purpose, of course, is me ascending back to my own Christ self, my own I am presence. And as I'm here doing my work, is to just to be that a beacon of light for others, um, on, as they, or those that are looking to us, um, if maybe if they're afraid, or wondering how to do something, or is this even possible, then they can look and see that this is a possibility. And then when they're ready, have those there reach out, and then I'm able to help them on their path. So it's just a guide. I feel like my purpose is mostly to guide those,
Mm-hmm.
or like a door opener into this path. As I've already been through it, so just somebody that's already opened the door to the path, and just assist others on their path. Um, I know that I'm an electrode, which means kind of like a step down transformer. So I work with, the Great Brotherhood, Sisterhood of Light, formerly, called Great White Brotherhood, which white
Right.
means the white. So I work with those particular groups of ascended masters. And so when I say that I'm an electrode or representative, is being able to anchor in their light, because a lot of people just are not able to see them face to face, or to really interact. So they can use me as their electrode, or their light in this earth. So that's how that.
So you're like a conduit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Hmm.
like a cosmic switchboard operator that has a direct line to these two energy complexes, which, a lot of people do talk about those, the Great White Brotherhood and so on. It's pretty, it's out there. Let's just say
Hmm.
it's, and so when you sit down with somebody, is that what you do? I mean, you probably do varied things, but I mean, for instance, if I came in and sat down and talked to you, and we had a session, is one of the things you do commonly, is that to open up your field and to basically channel from the Great White Brother and Sisterhood, in specifically for the client.
Yes, that's the biggest bulk of what that is when they come. It's that's it. So it's not kind of like a being tapped into their consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and what whatever that specific person is needing in that time, maybe that life force, or some guidance, that information will come through, and I'm able to bring that light and that guidance through that avenue. And so that's the bulk of it as
Now,
far as
now, do you ever, or I probably should say, do you ever tap in to? Well, that's a dumb question. When you tap in, when you're alone,
mhm.
I would imagine, obviously, that you tap into those energies. Uh, do you ever receive information of a collective nature or information that might be useful to people in general?
Yes, that happens. And when it does, that's when I'll make a post or put it out there in some type of way, or maybe make a small video. If it's more in a collective nature, if
Right.
in that particular, I'll get that information out there. But it's not a lot. It's not a whole lot that happens, but for the most part, it is more of a one-on-one type of thing with someone. But when they do give me specific information to put out collectively, I will do that.
Yeah.
But there's always these sparks of insight that I get from my own higher stuff, and sometimes they'll come through with some type of insight, and so that's the bulk of when I make these posts and things. That's where a lot of that's coming from, and they always they're encoded. They're like formulas. So especially when it comes from them, they're like these formulas. It's encoded, and so you're able. There's a healing even that happens in that,
Right.
or
So there's like a structure to there's a rhyme to the reason in the way that you express it in your writing. That in
absolutely.
itself is some type of semantical, geomantical um, structure that itself carries a code. Yeah, that's very
Yes.
cool. And do you ever? I'm just curious. Do you ever like channel in a group, or have you ever done it like publicly, where you just tap in and see what's going on?
I have not done that as of yet,
Okay.
and there is a working up to doing that,
Right.
to step out. We and I've made several videos to where I will do it. So I've recorded myself quite a bit um, with these messages, and I'll just in that alone time, and I'll make videos of that in preparation to be able to do of that. But right now, it's just been, like I say, more of a one-on-one
Yeah.
nature. That's what the book up's being, but that is coming.
So with everything that you have come to this point, do you have any um, perspective or feeling or knowing? These times are definitely, to borrow some terms from the deep south, where things are very ardent, and there is a kind of a fervor here, which I say that with great respect, and I think I have that in myself. But because it does feel very much like a biblical, of a biblical nature, what's occurring. And a
Hmm.
lot of people in their awakening talk about that. I know I felt that and still do. But do you have any, views or, comments or anything on, what we're getting into? I know we can't predict the future, but, as far as what's happening, how fast it might happen, um, or what's going on in general, because things do seem to be changing very rapidly.
Yeah, it is changing very rapidly, and um, the thing is about things changing very rapidly. It's in my phone.
Oh, you're running
I
out of juice.
hope I don't. Yeah, I hope I don't lose you. Um, but what I'm saying is that we've been having open portals of opportunity that's been coming in for a long time. But also, what's happening is in the middle of that happening, we're also having some more diabolical things that are coming in, that is attempting to thwart that as well for the collective. And so that's what makes it so difficult to that's one of the reasons that makes it so difficult to do any type of prediction and predicting and things like that of what's going to go on. But we're at a very beautiful time. We have the opportunity to anchor in that golden age. But what that actually means, of course, is that we're giving birth to our own golden child, and then you know that is making way for that new earth element to anchor in and transpire. Um, But as far as something just specifically that I feel like is going to happen, or if I'm hearing is anything specific happening, um, not really specifically,
Right.
like a specific thing. And that goes again with not hearing information or not gathering information of something that's a futuristic thing. It's really what everybody knows. Everybody knows that this is what we're doing. We're anchoring in that golden age and bringing that in, and that's
Yeah. You've mentioned the golden child energy several times, and I know I know there's a literal slash metaphorical slash incomprehensible kind of aspect to things as we move forward. Do you feel that the golden child, or the mention of the golden child, or the reality of the golden child, is that something, are we ourselves the golden child, or is it something that would be considered, say, let's say, a more enhanced um, Holy Spirit? I would use that word, like, something that's common to us all, that's, say, in the space between us and us. What's your take on that?
well. I'll go into what happened with me about around 2016. I received a message from my higher self that said that I would be giving birth to a golden child, and so I assumed in that moment that it was talking about I was going to literally give birth to a child that had these incredible abilities or something.
Yeah.
Thinking about the golden child, that movie. What was that with
Oh, yeah,
Eddie
yeah.
Murphy? That
Eddie
I'm
Murphy, yeah.
thinking. Yeah, so I was thinking more on those terms, but as the ascension has, as my path has moved on, I'm realizing it was meaning giving birth to that Christ child, or really it's meaning allowing the soul to ascend back into that space of that Christ self. That's that golden child is that your Christ itself, the Christ consciousness, your Christ self. Um, and that's doing that work, is we're bringing in those fragmented pieces of our soul and allowing the soul to be back integrated, and we heal that because we're like cosmic parents to our souls, so to speak, because the soul has been fragmented through trauma.
Mm.
um, and so you have these fragmented pieces of our soul in these different layers of multidimensionality, and you have entities and things like that are attached to those aspects of our soul. So that those are those painful pieces of us. And so again, as that cosmic parent, we consciously do that work, and we bring those pieces back into ourselves, and we integrate it. And as we do this, we're becoming more whole again, and we're ascending back to our real self, our Christ self, because we all are, we're children of the Son. We're all sons and daughters of God. So, and so from what I'm gathering on my path is that actual golden child, we're giving birth to our own Christ self.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I like the way you explain it, because there is a lot of talk over the years, although it's changed, like everything has changed, in regard to, let's say, dark entities or things that might be able to have a power over us. And I love the way you explain it, like that the soul itself was fragmented, and we're pulling everything back. Uh, and as that happens, it would only make sense that those things are less of a, maybe not the right word, but less of a threat, less of an influence, less of an energy that could, because there's, obviously different viewpoints on this, but that could actually, possess us, or bring things that are less than comfortable into our lives. I like the way you explain that. Yeah, I know too, like from your vibration and being from the South, and being exposed to, I guess, Western religion in the South, because it kind of has its own flavor, doesn't it? And again, the passion and the fervor, but also a very rooted in the biblical nature, or biblical, interpretations, such as 3 days of darkness, such as the poles reversing. Do you feel that those types of dramatic changes, or maybe even a change, people talk about the event, do you feel like that we'll see something like that where everybody will go, "Hey, this just happened," or it's happening and it's happening to everybody, and right down to the last man, woman, and child on the earth? Do you feel like that we'll see something to that degree of, let's say, a biblical nature?
I think it can happen like that. But it again with the collective consciousness, I believe there's so many different possibilities and probabilities, and I think that is one of the things that will happen on a specific timeline.
Right.
I do think, just again, it has a lot to do with that collective consciousness and what program in this matrix, you know, do people believe, and I think that all is going to play out
Yeah.
and
And
according to.
yeah, I'm sorry. There's a bit of a lag. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're good. No.
Okay. And again, being in Hot Springs, I feel like Arkansas in general is at least my own. This is just my thing. I'm not saying this is the way it is, but it just feels like it's kind of, um, rising, or, in terms of, you know, people's awareness of it, such as a Sedona or a Shasta. Um, and, I've read a lot of things and talked to a lot of people that kind of, lead me that direction to think that direction, but also my own just innate knowing. Um, do you feel like that are you experiencing, are you seeing even where people are starting to congregate here, or even in general, like in communities, like, finding your soul tribe and that type of thing? Do you have a network there locally?
No.
Okay.
Um, I don't hear in it's what I'm saying is my soul family is still pretty separated. It's in different locations in the earth. That's
Right.
that's experiences. That's what I'm still seeing. Um, Now, Arkansas has a because it's a natural state, and again, it has a lot of the gemstones and things that are here that grows here naturally. Um, it has a very strong probability to allow for that um, vibration to be here, in a powerful way, and it's going to affect everybody. Every person that's in this area will be affected in some type of way. They might not tap into it or realize what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's a strong probability, and it's a beautiful place to be because again, we have a lot of natural areas, a lot of natural spring water, a lot of again the crystals and the different gemstones, which allows for that to take place here. It allows for that type of vibration to be here. So it's just a beautiful location for that.
What about there's obviously discussion about, craft in the air. Many of
Mhm.
us have had encounters, both with our two eyes and our third eye of, we'll just say, galactic aspects, specific. But I don't recall, because there's certain places that, like Shasta, for instance. You see these clouds that are just like right over the mountain that are just like, come on, man. I mean,
Uh,
it looks so obvious. But do you have, is there much of a presence in, from your perspective, in the Hot Springs area? Do you feel a galactic influence? Do you hear people talking about seeing ships or having encounters with galactic aspects?
um, my experience, I haven't really heard many people talk about it, but I have had. There's a particular location that I lived before I ended up moving into another location. It was called like Magnet Cove area. So there's a lot of magnetite that's up under the land in that particular area. Um, and it was a lot of land. I lived on about 6 acres, and it was a lot of trees, a lot of beautiful open land there. And we saw, and that this was around 2018, which I think 2018 was powerful anyway because it was an 11 universal year, and
Hmm.
I think that was a beautiful year for portals as well, a huge thinning, and portals open that particular year. And so me and my children saw several. We were
Uh-oh. Just got to the good part. See, every time we get to the good part, they shut us down. Is that me or her? I think it's her. Let me just double check. It's probably her phone went out. Let me see here. Oh yeah, it was her. I think it was her. Are y'all still here with me? Let me see. Hang on. She's a cool lady, isn't she? All right, let's see. Todd Medina. Okay, so I'm still on. Ozark, Arkansas is well known for UFO site. That's right up the road. That's 17 miles from me. We'll have to check that out at the Soulogy Fest. In fact, I'm looking in that area for a location. Okay, so we're still on. Yeah, so, what a beautiful sister. And right down the road in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Yeah. I saw, I always believe in acting in the moment spontaneously. I just want to say hello to Shivani Johnny on YouTube. She mentioned she was Hindu, and I have a lot of respect for the Hindu religion and have met some really interesting people. But I don't think we've ever had anybody on the show that I can recall that I can remember. Anyway, I'm sure we have had people that follow the Hindu tradition, but I'd love to get somebody on here that would like to discuss it and dive into it, because anyone that's done any research into religion, that is like the oldest religion, and there's some really interesting aspects of it. So if Shivani, if you would like to come on the show and discuss that, please send me a message to SoulogyOneStudios at gmail.com, or on Facebook or whatever, or anyone else that might want to talk about something like that. I really like to expand the diversity of the subject matter that we have here, and of course all of it in alignment with oneness, which I feel that that subject would be informative and interesting and intriguing for us to discuss. We got a big day today. I don't know if Jamie's coming back, but I just want to say it's a pleasure to talk to her and to know her. We were just discussing the Soulogy Fest, which will be officially rolling out in the next 2 or 3 weeks, 5 months in advance of it, so it'll give us plenty of time for everybody to get things lined up. I Am Abundant, you could also do it. And thank you for watching our channel daily. We were just talking. She said she's going to come at least for one day. So we'll be getting the details out. We'll be trying to do our best to put Arkansas on the map at our second Soulogy Fest. And Jamie, if you're out there, just know that we love you. We appreciate you. All blessings to you and your beautiful children, and to what you're doing, both vocationally in the work that you do, but also in the energy work that you do. We'll be back in about an hour with Hung Nguyen, our beautiful sister, the Dragon Lady. She hit me up yesterday. She just had an opening. She's a very busy lady. And I said, wow, this is going to be a great day. We got Jamie, we got Robert Evans, and now Hung's going to come on. And then we have the lost conversation of Todd and Franco that we're going to release today this is from September the 12th, 2021. This was a private Zoom that we had with each other on that date, about 10 days before we did our last show, and about 5 weeks before he transitioned. So it's going to be an exciting day. I'm excited. It's going to be kind of versatile and diverse. I think Robert Evans is probably we're going to probably do something a little creative during the hour that we spend together. But anyway, Jamie Williams, I love you. See you all. And if you want to come back, we'll see you all in about an hour and 4 minutes. I Am Abundant. Send me an email if you're interested to SoulogyOneStudios at gmail.com, and anyone else that would like to talk about what's going on, and we'll see if we can get you set up. We have many people. I'm probably now well over 300 messages and requests to come on the show, and we're going to do the best we can to continue to bring on what some people might view as unknown, everyday people from the community, as opposed to a lot of the platforms that bring on the big names only, which is fine and needed and has helped us all. But we really feel like Soulogy is about the I Am Soul about the individual, about our brothers and sisters that are standing next to us as we all move out of this teacher-student paradigm, you might call it yogi guru paradigm, and move into creativity and collaboration and oneness and unity consciousness. So we want to try to embody that. So yeah, you guys can reach out to that. Reach out to Morgan Lee on Facebook, or one way or the other. Comments on the shows. So we'll be back in an hour. Thank you very much. Peace out. I'm going to go drink some coffee because I only woke up an hour ago. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.